today we are going to learn about Java multithreading and concurrency. So in this playlist, we'll be understanding the basics of multithreading and concurrency. We'll try to solve some problems, and we'll also try to look at some of the problems and how to decode or debug, and which would help us for our interviews, basically. So yeah, let's get started. What are threads in Java, right? So threads are lightweight processes. We can also, call them as single sequence of stream within a process. And each thread belongs to only one process. Threads have their own registers, stack, and counter, but they share code, files, heap objects, and static fields. Let's try to understand this better and with an example. In Java, there are two ways that you can actually create threads. One using the Runnable interface and the threads class. Let's look at the Runnable interface, as in like how we can create threads using Runnable interface. So for that, I'm actually going to create a new class called myRunnable. Okay, and I'm going to implement Runnable for this. Let's try to override the run method, right? Let's also try to create a public constructor for this, which would take a thread name. Right, and this dot okay. So now let's try to fill up the run method with something, right? For instance, let's just try to print some numbers, and let's also try to say system.out.println starting thread name, right? Starting thread, and then for int I is equal to 4, I greater than or equal to 0, I minus, right? And then we'll try to do println thread name plus I, right? Let's also try to add a space here. Okay, and then we'll do a thread dot sleep for 1 second, right? So let's try to put this under a try catch exception E right? And then we'll just do dot print stack trace for this, right? So this is our runnable my runnable class, which implements runnable, and we have done an override on the run method on this. Let's look how we can create a thread using this. If we go back to our main function, so let's remove this. I'm going to create two threads. Thread t1 is equal to new thread of my runnable, sorry, new my runnable, and I'm going to pass in the name thread1, right? And then the same thing, thread t2 is equal to new my runnable of thread 2. Okay, so now I'm going to start both the threads. Start, right? So before we run this code, just take a guess what we are going to see in the output. You can pause the video and see and expect what the output could be, right? And let's try to run this code and see. Right, so yeah, like we can see here, thread 2 started first and then thread 1, and in between, thread 1 was trying to print first before thread 2, and thread 2 was trying to print before thread 1. There is a mixture of things going on here. There is no synchronization between these two threads, right? So this is exactly what happens, and this is the very basic way how we can create threads. There is another way to create a thread by extending the thread class. For instance, so I'm going to create another class called myThread. Instead of implements, we are going to use extends, right? And in a very similar way, we are going to override the run method, right? We can actually copy paste the same code here. Okay, and we can public string thread name and public my thread string thread name right? Okay, so the main difference that we can see here is this extends thread, and in this case this is implementing runnable interface, right? What is the advantage or disadvantage, right? In case of if you are using the runnable interface, as we know, in Java we can actually implement any number of interfaces, but we can only extend one class. So if you are extending the thread class, then we'll not be able to extend any other classes. So and also it's a better practice to use runnable because of that reason mainly. And yeah, coming back to the main method, let's try to create thread t3 is equal to new my thread of, I'm going to name this as let's try to maintain some consistency, thread 3, and thread t4 is equal to new my thread of thread 4, right? And then let's start these two threads as well. T4 dot start. So now take a guess like what's going to happen, right? Let's run this code. So the system says thread 2 started, and then thread 3, and then thread 4, and then thread 1, uh, right? But when it tries to print, it's all jumbled up. So whatever thread got a chance to run at that given point in time, so that thread was run, right? So this is the output. So yeah, this is how we can actually create threads in Java by using Runnable interface and thread class. We'll actually dig more into this in our next video. All right, thanks everyone.